Happy Wednesday. John Lorden here. You know, the Wednesday shows, we always look into something kind of topical out of the news. Last week here in Minnesota, there was a pretty disturbing story. Body parts found along the Mississippi River. What's going on with that case? We're going to take a look at that together today. Let's go ahead and get right into it over at iHeart.com with an article titled, Minneapolis Cops Ask for Help After Body Parts Discovered in 2 Locations. Minneapolis police spokesman John Elder said that a passerby noticed the first set of body parts around 9:30 a.m. on Thursday, June 17th. Reporters for KMSP arrived while police were canvassing the scene and saw a partially covered leg that was cut to pieces. And that's one of the earliest news stories that I heard on the day that this happened. The information about it being a leg came out fairly quickly. There's also an interview with some people from the neighborhood where this is going down. They're being very clear about that as well. While investigators were at the scene, local residents found another bag containing body parts. Now, the thing is, it's being reported kind of how I started this story, along the Mississippi. And the first thing you would think is, well, is someone trying to get rid of these parts by throwing them in the river and they're washing up from the river or something like that. The location where these are being found, for the first one, I guess that's a possibility because we do have the Mississippi River right along the area, and they're not giving us, they're giving us kind of the general area of where this is happening. But the second set of remains were found up at University Avenue and 3rd Ave, which is several blocks away from the river. So honestly, the feeling I'm getting is someone was driving through the neighborhoods, and I don't know if they were throwing these bags out the window or if they were walking through the neighborhoods or biking. I don't know. But the way that they're finding these being kind of scattered across the neighborhood, I don't think that this was someone trying to put the remains into the river and then they're washing up at different points. These 2 sets are found very close to each other, and obviously one is a considerable distance from the river. Cadaver dogs were brought to the scene. Great move, obviously. They tried to locate the remaining body parts, but unfortunately didn't find anything. Back to the spokesman, Elder said the body parts that were found would lead us to believe that the injuries caused by the removal of those body parts would not be life-sustaining. These would be life-ending injuries. Now, outside of the reference to the leg, we don't know what other body parts they're finding, but police are being very straightforward here that they know that this is a murder investigation at this point. And, you know, with a leg being found as one of the parts, I think it's pretty obvious this person didn't survive those injuries. Now, knowing they found something else, regardless of what it is, that, of course, changes the scope. And as recently as this morning, Tuesday, when I'm recording this on June 22nd, a third body part has been found. Once again, it's not identified. We don't know what it is, but let's go ahead and continue here. So Elder said that the body parts appeared to be fresh and that officials do not believe it was a random act of violence. Officials are scouring missing persons reports. They're trying to identify who this is. Residents in the quiet neighborhood are rattled. And there's a quote here by one of them that I wanted to share because my first feeling, I had people asking me about this as soon as the news started breaking, and I kind of had a similar feeling to what Marshall Howell says here. He told the news station, to me, it's someone wanting more attention. The fact that there are pieces in different areas. And it kind of made me think of the Long Island serial killer case. It's one that we haven't talked about here in the channel for a while, but several of the bodies in that case were dismembered and the parts placed in different areas. And outside of the fact that they're being placed in multiple areas, which you think, I mean, it should raise the possibility that someone's going to find those parts, particularly when you're talking about a neighborhood like this. And from one of the videos that I saw, I mean, it was a bag that was literally up against someone's tire on their car. So if someone's going to walk out, see a bag, they're going to find that there. Outside of that, the parts are being described as being found in plastic. And we've talked about this on the channel before too. Like, you're essentially preserving a lot of the degradation that's going to happen to that body part by keeping it in plastic. So once again, I think just looking at the intent of this person wants these to be found. And why is that? Is it a particular message to the area? Is it a particular message to some specific person? I don't know. But obviously this neighbor had some of the same concerns that I did about what's going on with this. Let's go ahead and carry on to the next article at mprnews.org. Police identify dismembered human remains found in Minneapolis. And they did this really quickly. I think it was within 24 hours they knew who this was. I don't know how. They're not being very clear about how they came to this conclusion. But police spokesperson John Elder said Friday evening that they've identified the victim as 36-year-old Adam Richard Johnson, who is believed to have been from Minneapolis. Elder said investigators don't have any indication the body was frozen or otherwise preserved. Kind of an interesting statement, but I think they're trying to explain the condition of the body that they're finding it in, and they're trying to establish the timeline for when Adam was likely killed. If there was some signs of the body parts being frozen or preserved in some way, that would open up the window. And instead of looking at a matter of days or maybe a week of him being deceased, that could extend it out to several weeks, possibly even months, depending on the preservation. Quote, "This appeared to be a very focused attack, and there's nothing that leads us to believe that there's a threat to public safety." And here at fox9.com, we have a picture of Adam with someone that was close to him, the mother of one of his children. She's being referred to as JoJo. She's trying to protect herself in several ways. I think just accessibility from the press, but also who knows what's going on with this case, what's motivating this person to have done this to him. Could she potentially be a target in this at some point? I think it's just a smart move for her to remain not quite anonymous, but to not put all of her information out there like that. Family of victim shocked and dismayed. He would always, no matter what he was doing, he would always try to have fun, said JoJo. She shares a young son with Adam Johnson. JoJo says Johnson was a father of 3 and had struggled with mental health issues and recently homelessness. She believes his mental health played a role in his numerous run-ins with law enforcement, but doesn't think that they had anything to do with his murder. That was kind of interesting, too, as the information was coming out here locally. It was kind of like as soon as the identification happened, there was this comment of, well, and police were very familiar with him. So I think this is a bit of a clarifying statement there of, yeah, they were familiar with him because he was having some mental health issues, likely interacting with police, maybe not at regular intervals, but enough that they were aware of Adam and possibly some of what he was going through. Quote, "When he's not at his greatest, yes, he's gotten in trouble. I don't think his past had anything to do with what happened to him," said JoJo. Her last communication with him was about a week ago. So there we've got the time gap certainly having a hard stop to it. He seemed fine, said, "I love you and I'll talk to you ASAP," she said. I'm curious about this aspect, knowing that he's having run-ins with the law, knowing that he's probably struggling with an addiction. JoJo, I'm almost wondering if she has some idea of what is more likely happening here, because I just think it's kind of strange that she's pointing this out. I don't think his past had anything to do with what happened to him. This seems pretty grisly, and like I said, there seems to be a message kind of in the way that they've done this, the way that they've left his body parts around this city. So I don't know. And then, as I briefly mentioned earlier, we have an article from cbslocal.com from the morning that I'm recording this. More human remains related to the death of Adam Richard Johnson were found Tuesday morning. The remains were found shortly before 7 a.m. in the area of West River Parkway and Franklin Avenue. So let's bring up the map again. So pretty interesting that the third set is found on the opposite side of the river. Once again, close to the actual Mississippi River. Almost makes me wondering if there's like a bike trail or something they're using, but this amount of distance is 3.5 miles between where the first set was found and where this set is. Johnson's cause of death has yet to be determined. No arrests have been made in the case. Johnson had not been reported as a missing person, so that method of trying to track down who he was, that's not what wound up happening in this case. They're also noting here more parts could be in the city, and I would kind of expect that maybe over the next few days we're going to hear of some more discoveries of this nature being made. And here is a picture of Adam, I believe with one of his children. This is over at bringmethenews.com. The creator of a GoFundMe said the 36-year-old's family doesn't have the resources for a decent funeral and burial. So they're looking to raise $5,000 to help them with the expenses. Thankfully, they've done that. They had a $5,000 goal, and as of when I'm recording this, they're at $5,450. A spokesperson for MPD told Bring Me the News Monday they've gotten a great deal of tips to this point and continue to investigate. I'm really thankful to hear that. I hope those tips are solid. Anyone who has information on this case, you can contact Crimestoppers at 1-800-222-8477 or submit a tip online at crimestoppersmn.org. Just a really strange case. I'm going to keep an eye out for more information about this case. I'm really curious to see how they made the connection to him. I'm curious about that comment that JoJo made. I don't know if she has some specific ideas about which way they should be looking. I'm sure the investigators are all already aware of that. But the fact that there's a bunch of tips that are coming in, I think that could be really good for this case. We'll keep you updated here on the channel. But if you've got some thoughts on this, let's talk about those in the comments down below. Take care, everyone. Have a good day. I'll be back on Friday with a brand new episode of Searchlight right here on the Lord and Arts channel.